Hey everyone, so this is week 3 of my 12 weeks or 3 months at volunteering at God's Way. And if you haven't seen my first video, I will link it in the comments below. So this week started continuing on feeling quite heavy from last week as well. I have been dealing with a lot of resistance and a lot of not wanting to be here. And when I say that, it's not that it's necessarily a conscious thing that I'm aware of. It's almost that it's just so much of a habit inside of myself unconsciously that is playing out that I don't necessarily realize I'm not feeling emotions around until I start to experience the physical symptoms, which is stuff like feeling really heavy and getting headaches and confused and feeling really unclear in my decision making. And often that then also comes with thoughts. So essentially, what's happening in that process is that I'm not feeling my emotions. And that's when spirits can hook in. And I don't realize that I'm not feeling my emotions or the emotions that I need to feel. It's like I'm trying to feel my emotions, but it's almost doing the opposite effect. And, it sounds so simple to feel our emotions. And yet what I have, and be humble. And what I've found is that I've really struggled with that, with being here. Not always, but definitely in the first couple of weeks, and especially the first half of this week. And so, as a result of essentially not feeling my emotions and feeling the heaviness, and when I say this heaviness, it does feel like just feels like this, like things just feel really, really heavy. And there's been a lot of tears. And almost these feelings of like, this is never going to end and I'm never going to get out of this. And just so heavy, so heavy. And so we volunteered Wednesday through to Saturday this week, and I went along on Wednesday. And the beautiful thing about these days is that even just by actually just going, it brings up so much. And what I mean by that is you can just go along to these days and not, you just be there. And the property itself that Mary and Jesus live on energetically rearranges the body, our bodies, our spirit body, our soul, our physical body, our emotions, all of the things. And so by the time you get home, you really do feel like quite exhausted. And obviously this, I've been dealing with a lot of resistance and what some of the volunteers there have said to me is that I've also had, a lot of spirits not wanting me to be there, and, therefore spirit attack as well. So kind of energetically dealing with that. And it was interesting. Wednesday, I came home and I kind of felt like I had been like in a washing machine, like my physical body actually felt battered and bruised, even though I, hadn't been, it wasn't, but that was literally what I felt like. I felt like someone had just put me in a washing machine, and my physical body was feeling the effects. So I know that there was so much stuff happening unconsciously that I wasn't aware of, and spiritually and emotionally. So kind of Wednesday I got home and I just slept. I absolutely couldn't do anything else. I was so exhausted. And the work itself isn't, I don't find it to be physically demanding work. I actually really, I really love the work. For anyone who doesn't, who hasn't participated, it's cool stuff. Like, at the moment we're painting eco tents in preparation for Jesus and Mary when they get back from their world tour. So we're painting them and we're preparing them to be finished, essentially, as well as stuff like regular duties like cleaning things, and they're also building this big kind of shed area as well. And so we get to do really cool stuff, like a lot of kind of construction orientated work, a lot of physical labor, weeding as well, but you get educated around the weeding in relation to how that connects into our soul and our sins, and a lot of environmental work. And I really like it. I find it really cool because nowhere, I don't feel, in the world would you be able to do things like this necessarily without having a degree or some type of education or like training around it. And it's not that we go in and we just kind of get thrown in. They do educate us on what we're actually doing, but you don't have to go to school and learn about this to get certified or anything like that. So yeah, it's just really cool. We for example, with the eco tents, we we had to sand them, and basically we had to prepare them to be painted, like rust proofed. And yeah, it was really cool. And it's kind of stuff like this, and it's sort of engaging everyone. I'm not 100% certain, and I'm not going to do it correct, but the way that I see it is that if these visions want to be brought to life, and things want to be built in order for divine truth to be shared more and God's way to grow, and these humility and practice days to be available to more people worldwide, then it requires it requires bigger buildings and accommodation, and it requires all of these things in preparation for that, and that then essentially allows everyone who participates in God's way to be involved in that, and as we are involving ourselves in helping build this beautiful these spaces for other people to learn more about God's truth and God's ways and principles, we get to learn about them as we are actually doing the work. That's why they're called humility and practice days. It's it's really cool. And I find that to be super beneficial, learning about these principles, because you're not only hearing about them, or you've not only heard about them, but you actually get feedback as you're doing the job, as you're working throughout the day. So if you're in any addiction with anyone, if you're being unloving towards anyone on the actual day or anything like that, then you will be told generally, or there will be feedback, or it will be brought up. And, usually in life, it doesn't get brought up, or it sort of, people just don't speak up when they don't speak. And, a lot of the times people don't have a gauge of love or God's love at all. And so, or God's truth, should I say, and God's standard of love. And so that, and so we just don't live like that. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And I say that it's really cool, and I still have a lot of fear around receiving truth. A lot of fear and a lot of resistance around receiving truth. Sandy, the woman that I'm living with at the moment, who has allowed me to stay with her, she's so great for it. There was a beautiful, to give you an example as well, like it's been so good living with Sandy. Well, yeah, just to come back to my other little piece on, my week, Wednesday was really big. And then Thursday morning, I went along to do Mother of Millions, which is weeding. And I was there for a little while, and I could just feel all of this resistance. Sandy had sort of brought something to my attention that morning. And so I got to the point where basically I just was not feeling emotions, feeling attacked, feeling like this was never going to end, and not having compassion for myself. And that's something that I really, would remind anyone who is wanting to engage in this way of living, is to have compassion for ourselves. And that doesn't mean to say don't let ourselves feel our emotions. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean, be really, really gentle with with ourselves along the journey. And it's really important. Myself, I get really hard on myself, and I have high expectations of myself, and I can be really hard on myself, and how I'm kind of like how I'm progressing or growing, I guess you could say. And it's almost like this another way that I've learned to receive love is kind of in this if I'm achieving and succeeding in that way. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not when that comes about, it's not in a loving way. It's in a it kind of does the opposite to what I desire, what I'm needing at that time. I'm needing compassion, and I'm needing to be just compassionate towards myself, rather than and just how, like, as little as little human beings, like little girls and little boys, we're not taught that. We're not taught that at all. We're taught to like succeed, and we're kind of taught the opposite. And as a result of being kind of taught the opposite, that then sort of translates that that's love, you know, that's you know, we're going to be loved if we're succeeding, or if we're, yeah, we're just taught that that's love. That's how I was taught anyway. I was taught that that's love. Um yeah. Yeah. So Thursday I came home and just had a quiet afternoon and slept again. And so like to kind of tell you how this connects in with living with Sandy, it's been really great living with her. So great living with her. I feel so grateful. Yeah, I feel so grateful that I've been able to have this experience with her. Um, and this is a thing. Like, everyone's so like generous. There's such a generosity, and I'm not saying that everyone's perfect here and that everyone's, you know, really living by you know, God's loving ways at all. I've made the mistake of having that projection last time I arrived, and yeah, it's not that at all. It's just that there's I just have been very humbled by the different standard of love that people have here to what I have experienced. And so living with Sandy, one of the things that I have desired for quite some time is to to have a I guess a desire. I've had a desire to really know how to be, you know, in a relationship in a really loving way and in a really true way. And what I mean by that is, like, not only, you know, eventually I want to be with my soulmate and be living with my soulmate, but also just people in general, like friends. You know, I've lived with quite a few housemates in the past, and it just never has seemed to yeah, I've never gotten a way of being able to live harmoniously together and lovingly, and even with friends. That's something that I'm also realizing, is that just, yeah, there's so much. This week has brought up so much for me. Just how I don't know how to be a real friend. It's like I don't really know how to be friends with people. And so anyway, with Sandy, it's been great because initially when I first stayed with Sandy, my tendency is to run away. So that would look like getting in the car and going for a drive, or it would look like, and I've always loved driving, you know, I really enjoy driving, but I've realized that it's actually a way that I run away. It's a way that I avoid. And I think I said this in the last video as well, as it's a way that I just avoid my emotions. And when we first started, you know, it's really beautiful. Sandy doesn't bring it up in a way that is, bring things up in a way that's blaming or projecting or anything like that. She will just bring it up in regular conversation, and she's just got this, what feels like to me is this really gentle and loving way of just kind of bringing it forward. And also because I feel like she has, she gets excited knowing that, there's other attractions, like that everything's an attraction to bring more love into the situation. She gets excited about that. She's that excitement sort of makes has a way of dissolving any, like for me, I kind of go, oh my gosh, like we've had a fight, or we've had a disagreement, or we don't agree on things, or I've I'm not doing things, it means this, and she's going to hate me, and means I'm unlovable, and all of these things. And she's like, oh, it's an awesome experience that, this God has brought us another attraction. And so I'm learning. Yeah, I feel like I would love to get to that point. So, yeah, initially in the very beginning, I did jump in my car. I did go for drives, because it was a way of making myself comfortable. I have gotten a lot better at that. Now when things are uncomfortable, I stay. I don't, I know that I just have to stay in it. And so I will just kind of stay in my room, or I'll, go to my room, or just stay on the property without like leaving the property, or disengaging through even like internet or movies or anything like that. So that's been really cool, really awesome to experience. And obviously I wouldn't have had that experience without being able to stay here with Sandy, and just to have her be the way that she is as well, and it's not always been smooth riding. There have been some uncomfortable things. So, a lot of things around entitlement, and what that's looked like is, Sandy lives on solar power and rainwater, and she essentially uses the internet. She knows how much internet she needs, so she pays for that amount. And we've had some conversations around my water usage, and then this Thursday morning, after the Wednesday morning I was just speaking about, it came up that the internet had been kind of used pretty much up. A lot of it had been used up, and it was a really big time for me. Like, I woke up that morning, it was just like this other big thing, and I didn't really know what to do. And anyway, by the end of the day that I got home, I hadn't really seen her to have a conversation around it. And so by that stage, at the end of the day, I was sort of just really berating myself, and just in this whole big place of shame and embarrassment. And but that then turned into, as I said, like really sort of berating myself and hating on myself, and kind of like just judging myself, and just a lot of feeling like I was a crap person. She hates me, she's never gonna, just, I felt so afraid to connect back with her, because I hadn't seen her all day. She ended up staying at home doing some things, and I got home, and I was, just in a whole big place of feeling exhausted and just really heavy. And I ended up going to sleep, and again, sleeping for, nearly the whole afternoon. Anyway, she, we were sort of missing each other, basically. Anyway, she finally knocked on my door in the afternoon, and she just said, she asked me if I was okay. And I came out, and she just had this, yeah, she just like was so loving. Like she was so loving, and there was so much grace that she yeah, so much grace. And before that, I'd actually received a message, and she's like, don't worry, it's just an awesome experience that we. Like, it was just like, here I was hating on myself and berating myself, and she, you know, it just felt like God once again had given me this experience of, you know, of God's love, of His love, of like how it's yeah, I've got to feel the feelings, but it's not okay to treat myself like that. It's not okay to, um, yeah, just felt like God like showing me the truth of things, and uh, yeah, I just cried even more, because it just felt so loving. I've not had that experience in the past where if if I've sort of done something, then someone's seen it as me learning, and it being a beautiful experience for both parties, and a great attraction for more love. And yeah, I'm really experiencing how, and just grow my reverence and respect for these people who have been here for so long have yeah, it's really growing. And I feel like it's like I didn't really see it in the beginning. I was just so arrogant, and yeah, yeah. So one of the other, so that's been really cool, and it's just been really good. So for her to be able to bring things to me more. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Yeah, and I guess just I've come here. There's probably been a few other things that I want to mention just in this week. Is when I got here, I sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of, what I have felt that I'm passionate about in life. I had a conversation with, some of the managers the first day that I was here, and there was some, just talks about addictions and in our passions and how we think we know what we're passionate about, but that'll probably change due to the reasons why we're doing the things that we're doing. It just really sort of made me question. I sort of came in and I felt like I had this drive of, what I wanted to do with my work, and, what I've known of myself. And I've just put all of that on the back burner, and God's way and volunteering has been my life so far. And I've noticed that hasn't been very loving for myself. I do notice, so on the Friday, I actually ended up not going to God's way. And there are a couple of things in that, like noticing how spirits are trying to take me back to my life in Sydney and not want me to be here. And that comes through, different messaging and different, ideas in my head, and which then kind of drive me to make different decisions, and telling me things about people in God's way that aren't true, like, horrible things that they hate me, or they're not going to like me, or just that they don't like me, and just all this sort of stuff. And it's not true at all, but that's what comes, and yeah, it's just it's not loving. And so they also tell me these things in order to, like, so when I didn't go on the Friday, I had said that I was going, and then I felt like I wasn't going to go the night before because just I felt like I had some big days. But anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is I realized the benefit of going even when I don't want to go. Like, even when I don't want to go, how much my soul loves going after going. And I just feel so fulfilled. It's kind of like exercise, my version of, I love, for anyone who's done exercise, I don't always love exercising. I had to grow to love it. I don't always love exercising, but I love how I feel after I exercise and I move my body. It just and this for me is the exact same. I don't always love going, but it's always worth it. It's like 100 times better than the analogy of exercise. So just really noticing how much spirits want to sabotage me and make me not go. And it's all, just because I'm not feeling my emotions, all of my emotions. Yeah, but just down to the point where, I really feel that they, some ways that they've been doing that is sort of telling me, that these people at God's Way who genuinely show me love, they genuinely want loving things for me. They tell me that they're not being loving, that they don't, I don't know, I don't even know what they tell me. It's more like, that they're going to judge me, and just pretty much that they're going to judge me. Like, I'm so afraid of their judgment. But actually I'm just petrified of their love. So there's that, and, stopping me from sort of getting jobs. But it's not the spirit's fault. Like, it's me, right? I haven't been feeling my fear and my doubt and my overwhelm, because what comes, when all that stuff comes up, I then sort of question and doubt, like, is it the right thing? Is it, this kind of organization and control part of me wants to come in? And that's obviously when spirits can hook in. And there was another piece I was going to say. So I ended up, some contract work back in Sydney ended up coming up, and rather than, just sort of doing consistent work here, there was a part of me that felt like it would be really, really good to go back to Sydney for a couple of weeks towards the end, which is, what I'm doing, and do this work. And I'm doing it, and also bringing my furniture up here. But it was just really interesting to see how all of the things, when I said yes to this work, it's like all of the messaging started to come in that, oh, I should also, leave my belongings down there until I've got somewhere to stay here. I should also go down and do this job that's come up, this, this other job that's come available, and this other job that's come available. And I'm really seeing how easily I can be led to think that that's the more loving option. So I'm really being shown what influences are most loving. And, I feel like everyone is trying to influence us, but it's like, who actually genuinely wants loving outcomes for us? Like, genuinely wants loving outcomes? That's the question that I'm now asking myself. And I think as well, like, just the thing for me that comes up is staying with people. Like, it's been so great staying with people because my default has been having my own place. Before coming here, I've been able to sort of retreat to my own home where I feel safe, where I don't have to deal with the discomfort that comes up. And the discomfort of staying with people means, how can I be myself no matter where I go? How can I be myself in front of whoever I'm living with? How can I still live my life in a way that I choose and desire to live my life, no matter who I'm staying with? So essentially, how can I find my home? How can I create a home and feel at home no matter where I am? And a lot of stability stuff has come up. How can I feel stable and treat myself, in loving ways that create stability and that create this sense of deep trust and deep faith and all of those things without necessarily needing to have my own place and, my own belongings and which I am excited to have if that's how it goes. But as much as I have, as much as there's a part of me that right now is like, I can't wait to have my own place. There's also another part of me that's like, that feels really grateful for not. I don't feel like I know anywhere else in the world, and I haven't come across, and I've traveled a lot and I've met a lot of people, and I've been a part of a lot of different self-development groups and relationship spaces and all of the things that you would experience love to be. And I feel like I can say that I haven't felt like I've been able to be a completely and entirely messy, fumbly, awkward, just embarrassed, ashamed, out of control, fumbly, learning child, baby, toddler at the age of 38, as I have here. I often feel like a newborn baby giraffe that is learning to use her legs and stand and not even walk, but just like stand. And as I do that, it's like everyone else around me who are already giraffes who have been here for quite some time are just watching me shake and rattle and awkwardly fumble and be just really awkward in me kind of being in my body, I guess you could say. How giraffes, like, it's not only them standing, but it's literally like you're coming to know how to be inside your body, inside your legs, inside your feet, inside, because you're using them for the first time. And that's, although I'm not a giraffe, that's what it feels like, with different facets of what I'm using, which I don't even know what those parts are. But these parts that, you know, I hide behind closed doors. And yeah, you know, people are now getting to see the way that I live my life. And yeah, you know, the real me, I feel like that's probably one of the the final things that I'll finish off with, is that just how I didn't realize I had this sort of like belief or perception or way of thinking that, you know, I showed the world a certain version of myself, but behind closed doors with myself, because I'm very good at being with myself, you know, being alone. And, you know, I've traveled a lot solo, and yeah, I'm, I like doing things on my own. But actually, I realized that, well, I've realized a lot of things about that. One, that it's a way of keeping myself from really being seen. And two, that these, I really feel like it's, you know, these spirits that have been with me for a lot of my life, who desire to keep me separate and desire to keep me away from having, you know, true friends and whatnot. It's like when I go travel or when I go do things alone, it's like I'm not really alone. I'm actually with them, and I'm getting my addiction, which is why it feels so satisfying, is because the satisfaction is that I'm getting my addiction with them met. And I'm still unraveling that one, but that's what I've come to so far, which is super fascinating. And it's been interesting to see within that, yeah, as a result, you know, on those times when I want to hide away, but I actually have come out, I've actually, it's showed me that I'm actually really craving other people. Like my soul is actually truly craving connection with other people in those ways. So yeah, it's been super interesting to see myself unconsciously think that I was like unconsciously show the world a certain version of myself. And then be with all these things of myself behind closed doors, like jumping in my car and doing that whenever I wanted to do. The amount that I use the internet, this facade of, you know, thinking that I clean things perfectly or do things perfectly, when actually I don't. I just try to do things perfectly in order to not get into trouble, but actually my standard of, you know, it's not where I think it is. Like it's just so crazy, you know. So it's really beautiful to be able to see these things through living with another person who, yeah, has this, or feels like she has this acceptance of learning, you know. And I definitely am learning, you know, these ways of yeah, just living. So yeah, that's my week 3. And yeah, thank you for joining, and I'll see you next week.